can be the starting point. So that's maybe what I want to start with. So this is when I came in, this was the baseline. So this is what's on the homepage. Nothing less is needed but a fundamental revolution to truly enhance the proactive personal health maintenance for the benefit of individuals, society, and business. And the vision of this initiative is that future healthcare will allow citizens to control and make use of his or her personal information. Now, the really important thing is, of course, for me as a lawyer, first thing is that's personal data. And personal data is supposed to be more regulated. And I don't know how many lawyers are in this room. Hands up. Okay, 1, 2. That's great. All right. Okay, so how is data regulated? And this is for me has been the starting point coming here. So we have this universal right? Data protection is a fundamental right. Privacy is a fundamental right. It's always been kind of the starting point here. Look at how is a research project that is dealing with sensitive information, how is that important, how can this be addressed from a regulatory perspective. Now we have all these institutions, it's not only the EU, it's not only GDPR, it's a global, privacy is a global fundamental right, and data protection has been developed as a fundamental right as well. We can debate about that, but that's the baseline. And that means that, like with any other right, that once you process personal information, you interfere with somebody else's fundamental right. Right? So that means that you need a really good justification to do that. It's the same thing if you, everybody has a right to life. So that's the kind of baseline. But then again, a police officer can still shoot you on the street if there's an adequate justification for that. So no right is absolute, so they can always be interfered with. This is the baseline. So data processing is always, or personal data processing is always an interference and needs to be justified. That's quite clear. And then, of course, defined personal data is all information relating to an identified or identifiable natural person. You all know that this is the MyData conference, we've all talked about this a lot. And then data concerning health is personal data related to the physical or mental health of a natural person, including the provision of healthcare services, which reveal information about his or her health status. We have a double classification here. We have personal information or personal data as one thing, and then we have special sensitive personal data, and health is one of these special sensitive personal information because so much can go wrong with it if it's run in the wrong way. So it's a special category of personal data. It may carry a higher risk to certain fundamental rights, or generally to certain, can do lots of bad things if you have health data in the wrong hands, or if you process in the wrong way, if it's lost, whatever. And it means it's also generally prohibited by law to process health data unless we have a very, very good justification for it. And this is now Europe, this is now GDPR, and this is because we talk about MyData in Europe, so I'm going to use this kind of justification that you have to process health data. So the first reason you can process health data means the vital interest. So if in the vital interest of a person, when somebody is dying on the street, you need to tell the name to the doctor or some kind of information with allergies, that's justified. So you can use that in certain specific cases. There's also the public interest in healthcare service regulated by law. So it means there is a national law or some kind of regulatory document that allows the processing of health data in the framework of national health services for certain things. So this is the second justification if one processes health data. You can't really use this like as a company. It's really difficult to do that. And the third one is the explicit consent of the individual to process this. So this is like the baseline how when I came in and how Harri looked at how can we combine MyData with digital health revolution and how can we address this health data. It means we need to find an adequate justification for how we can justify the use of personal health information within this project. How can we create this revolution, contribute to this revolution, and still having it in a legal way. So that means what we need to do is we need to create a platform that follows and implements these legal standards. And that means that first of all we need to follow the general data protection principles. Because it needs to be fair, lawful, it needs to have a legitimate purpose for each processing activity, it needs to be transparent, it needs to be secure, and it should be accurate. The second step to do means we need to find this, what I said, little basis for the processing, and especially because it is health information, it's a special category of personal data, we need probably most likely explicit consent from the individual cases. The third step that we need to do, this also comes from the GDPR, you need to take a risk-based approach. That means you need to consider the risks to the rights and freedoms of the data subjects. So you need to look at what you're doing with the information, where is the highest risk to the rights of the individual, and that's where you need to take the measures. So it's not the high risk to the company, it's the risk to rights and freedoms of the data subject, and that's the point, that's where you need to relook at first. Where's the highest risk? You need to, of course, identify this risk, since to risk assessment and stuff like that, privacy impact assessment. The fourth step means that we need to basically enable the data subject to exercise these specific rights they have, for example, within the GDPR, but also in other documents. Meaning, for example, access to data, they can control the information, proper consent, for example, it needs to be transparent, it needs to be privacy notices, and so on. And the fifth step would be then to basically be sure that the system is secure, functioning, that we implement privacy by design, that privacy settings are always set by default to the system. So this is really how we then interpret it. So we came from this idea that we need now to address this fundamental revolution in digital health revolution and implement this within the MyData ecosystems in a way, and this is kind of the way that we've been really trying to do this, basically making it transparent, secure, have adequate legal basis for the processing, proper explicit consent, risk approach when we have these technical standards and then security privacy by design, privacy by design, for example, by bringing me in as a lawyer to look at this stuff from the point of creation. So this was my part of the presentation. I will give to Harri for the more technical.
Thank you. Yes. So now you know the background why we started to do something that I'm now calling the MyData architecture framework, which is probably contributing as much to the MyData community as for the DHR as a program. And there's 3 years of history for this sort of privacy platform development behind. We started with the first phase of the project, and we only looked basically at the use case that's known for many of you, maybe from the MyData white paper from 2015. So there is a data register somewhere owned by a controller, using this own sense, basically held by some data controller, and then there's going to be somebody else who wants to reuse this information. Again, the data controller, the organization, the legal person, not the natural person. And we basically look at an architecture where there is a privacy dashboard for the data subject, i.e. patient or the citizen in the healthcare setup, which is used as an intermediary for managing the consents, because there's no data transfer between those two parties without the individual's consent. Those of you who are coming from the world of healthcare and consent, there is very rarely anything such as a digital consent existing. Correct me if I'm wrong, but most of the patient consents are still collected at the point of visit with paper. They may be scanned somewhere as a PDF so that there is a marker that this person has been giving a consent. But really, what we are turning with this infrastructure to is that there is always going to be a machine-readable digital status of your consent on the infrastructure. And the individual can withdraw the consent as easily as they have been giving it. So this kind of privacy dashboards, external services are something that we elaborate on. And there came a fairly complicated, multi-phased process for organizing this kind of interactions and transfers between the different players. But the core there is basically that there is always you as a data subject giving the permissions through this privacy dashboard. We don't go into much detail there, but now how we extended this whole approach, learning from the GDPR, is that the platform for only managing digital consent is not what you need for being even on par with the GDPR expectations, because there are other legal processing purposes. You have those we showed before. There might be special regulation, state-specific regulation, which says that the officials actually have the right to process your data. But in most cases, it's still about consenting. If you're not a public sector operator, healthcare operator, most likely your private sector occupational healthcare provider would have to ask for your explicit consent anyway. But we enlarged our consent use cases to include also the situations where we essentially just make an agreement with one service that, hey, somebody else, if you are generating and handling my personal data, what are the rules that I accept? So those kind of consents were added. Then we also added the concept of digital contract, because many of the processing cases between us as individuals and different organizations will be based on contract. At least the bare service provisioning part will be based on contract, which is outside the concept of having explicit consent. Then we also need use cases for informing people that their data is being processed. Although you cannot maybe have an impact on which kind of data is processed, it would be very nice along the MyData principles that you at least are made aware of who, where, when has been touching your personal information. This is familiar from the different kind of audit logs on the healthcare systems, but this could be just basically a far more transparent way to do it so that the individuals themselves get informed about it. And then also by the law, you have the right to object processing. Whether it always will end up being successful, we have been having interesting discussions with Jens about that, but that is a bit sort of the opt-out approach, that there used to be a way that you can opt out from processing which has been enabled by default. But that's something that should not be used in this new world of personal data processing in general at all. So try to avoid opt-out kind of service setups. We generated running code in a sandbox for this approach. So sandbox.MyData.fi, we will demonstrate that over the coffee break. That demonstrates with its live demo one of these use cases only. So we sort of feel a bit unfinished. Of course, the world doesn't end, the project ends, and we didn't have time to do implementation of all those use cases. But the placeholders and the specifications are there, and it's all open source. So if somebody wants to take it to the next level, productize it outside the project, it's all free MIT licensed stuff. And then those who want to read nice use cases and mapping of those to technology will check the lower link that brings to the actual technical papers that are describing the overall structure. That's what we did. How was I doing time-wise? We were doing.